There's no way you can tell me after watching this film and having seen Halloween as many times as I have, knowing that came 4 years later, you cannot convince me.
This is clearly inspired by that.
I mean, they tell the same exact story. Welcome back to the Oh Brother podcast. Mike, we're back. We're going to do a review on 1974, we should say, Black Christmas. Right? I think we have to point that out.
Yeah, because it's been remade in 2006 with one of the original cast members, ironically, in it.
Now, neither of us had seen Black Christmas, right?
Never seen it. I thought you did see it.
No, it's unusual. Usually one of us has seen the film we're talking about, but in this case, neither of us have watched it. So that's kind of interesting.
And honestly, I had to watch it twice.
And I technically watched it twice as well, not deliberately, but just kind of going back and looking at some things.
I had to because I was confused.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why as we talk about it.
As simple a plot as this is, Mike was confused?
It's seemingly simple, but there's we're not going to talk about the twists because that would give away the film. But there's some twists that happen.
You know how I feel about that. Okay.
I think, since you and I haven't seen it, a lot of people probably haven't.
It's 1974. Okay.
Agreed.
It's an anomaly that we didn't see it. So just feel free to talk openly. I don't feel like editing myself or worrying about if you haven't seen the film. Yeah. Okay. Well, click away or say spoiler alert or something.
Yeah. It opens on the sorority house where these girls are getting a crank phone call from this really crazed individual that's saying all sorts of rude, mostly sexual things, and basically threatening them.
Right.
And then one of them goes missing, and that kind of kicks the film off.
Yeah, that's a good setup. Yeah. So here's a shot of Margot Kidder on the phone, listening to Billy is the character's name, the killer's name.
Which is interesting because I always read the trivia, and I know there's different cuts of this movie out there, like Shout Factory that did all the Halloween ones that we have in 4K. Right. They did a special edition of this, and in the original cut, Billy is never mentioned by name, but as you just said, that's the killer's name, and he says it in the film. It's Billy.
Yeah, that's right. What was most fascinating to me about this, and not just like I knew this because I knew the film existed. I attempted to watch it last year, actually never did. I think maybe when we were doing Halloween Fest, but right off the bat, it's one of the things I like about this and why we thought this was fitting to be our final episode of Holiday Fest, our Christmas episode for those who celebrate is Black Christmas, was that it was directed by Bob Clark,
which shocked me.
Yeah, well, because this is how I came to know Bob Clark.
Correct.
Was a Christmas
and this is the antithesis of a family-friendly, funny movie, and here you got a dark, what some people call the first slasher film.
Yes, although so this is not blood, guts, and gore. This is in fact, the brilliance of the film is that it's like a Hitchcockian. It's a psychological thriller because it's almost completely POV from the killer's vantage point. Other than one exception, there's one scene that's an exception to that, but that's it.
And that really confused me at the beginning. Because I'm not used to you're pointing out Hitchcock is perfect because he did a lot of point of view shots, but the movie opens on a point of view shot and they're sprinkled throughout. And sometimes the juxtaposition was jarring to me. Like I couldn't figure out, okay, why is he pointing the camera there and the action is over here? Now, the second time through, it all made sense. Once it got to the ending of the film, I really liked the ending.
Yeah.
And I thought, I missed something because this ending is clever.
Yep.
I must have missed something up front. Sure enough.
Yeah, without trying to, like you said, spoil anything, there was a potential for an alternate ending that they never filmed. It was an
Yes,
idea, but I think he made the right decision ultimately.
I do too. And the same with the gore. There's a
Mhm.
gorier cut, and he deliberately took out a lot of the killing, which
Well,
made it a little confusing.
yeah, but I think that was in the script, in the screenplay, not I don't think it was what they
Yeah,
filmed.
they might not have shot it right.
No, no, I don't think so. He
Right.
had already determined from screenplay to shooting that he wasn't gonna go in that direction, and again, it's another brilliant decision because this is another example of how just the suggestion, right?
Mhm.
Again, another great example. We've done an episode on it. Jaws, right? Just past the 50th anniversary of Jaws. One of the best examples of that, right? You point out you see the shark for what 2 minutes in the whole film,
Right.
but
Right.
you're scared. I'm still won't go in the ocean like deep, like maybe
Yeah.
ankles up. That's it. Because of that. So it was another clever move by him. But as you going back to this point about how we came to know Bob Clark,
Mhm.
the other interesting thing was, as I go back and look, I'm like, oh my God, he did Porky's and Porky's 2.
Wow. I
So
see, I
he
didn't know that.
and anybody that has seen Porky's, that is
Right.
also not family fare. That is
And
very
that was a
raunchy.
genre bender from nowhere
And that
that
was
led to all sorts of hit movies.
1981, which preceded the 1983 A Christmas Story, which a lot of people have seen. But you would never, seeing this and seeing a film like Porky's, you'd never,
No.
ever in a million years guess this was Bob Clark. And he had done two films prior to Black Christmas that were still also kind of in the horror genre.
Mhm.
He did one that was actually a nod to another film we recently covered on our Criterion collection, which was A Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
It was Death Dream. I think it also went by another name, but
As did this film had several names.
it did on in the script. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah,
I think it
yeah.
was released under Silent Night, Evil Night.
Silent Night, Evil Night, correct. And then they pulled that back. It also now it was filmed in Canada. It was filmed in Toronto primarily,
Right.
and it premiered October 11th, 1974. It didn't come to the States until May 7th, 1975 is when it was
Mhm.
released in the US. But it's just I couldn't that was the thing I had to get over first was like that this is the same guy doing this film. It was fascinating.
Me too, and if you hadn't told me, I don't think I
Mhm.
would have looked,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but
you know what's
you told me up front.
fans of A Christmas Story, and you've seen it, a handful of times as well over the years, right? You've done
They
the
do the
marathon.
marathon.
They do the marathon. But even the titling, the title sequence, the title card in the opening of the film, anybody that has seen A Christmas Story, right? It's familiar.
Right,
it's the same
right.
title that he uses in that. And
Familiar, but different.
and also the end credits, back then, like when we did our episode on Dirty Harry, we remember we talked about how the end back then it was more common for the scene would still be rolling when the credits came
Right,
up,
with
like a
Clint
live.
walking away for seemingly 10 minutes on film.
Yeah, and I miss that in films, and Bob Clark does it here with Black Christmas. It's another nice little
What was
touch.
the modern film, Michael Clayton with
Mm,
George Clooney, they did it,
great film.
where he's sitting in the back of a car and the camera's just on him
Yeah.
while the credits go, and it keeps going, and it's great filmmaking.
Soderbergh, right?
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh.
Soderbergh. I want to play a quick clip. We're on this point talking about the genius of the suggestion, right, of the killer, and you never really see the killer. We never find
No,
out who the killer is, quite frankly. You can
other than
try to
his name.
surmise
Yeah,
other
other than his name.
if that's even a legitimate name, right? I mean, who knows? The
There's a commentary track on that Shout Factory I told you about
yeah.
that gives up all,
The
you know, all the
okay,
details.
the Blu-ray is absolutely loaded
Yeah.
It's loaded.
That's
So
gotta be the Shout Factory one.
I would encourage folks to pick that one up. But this is from a series of archival interviews that I think were done around 2006. Now, sadly, Bob Clark and his 22-year-old son were killed in a head-on collision in
Yeah.
2007.
Because he was gonna do a sequel.
Yeah, so we lost him in 2007. But here's a clip from this series of interviews. I saw it on a YouTube channel called Blu-ray Extras. But here's an interview with a guy named Tony Massey, and this is Olivia Hussey speaking briefly about this point here.
Films, I think a lot of times, like Hitchcock, you don't really see anything, but you have the idea that you've seen. Other than the bodies once in a while, the thought of some man standing behind a door peering at you is a lot more frightening than watching somebody, like, you see the bodies once it's happened, but you don't actually see it happening. And to me, that's a lot more terrifying, the thought of something.
But don't you think that this inspired Halloween?
Okay, perfect segue. So, first, let's hear from Bob Clark himself. This is Bob Clark, again, from this series of interviews, and he's addressing what you're talking about here.
But if I did do a sequel, he said, what would you do? And I said, well, what I thought I'd do is I would make it the following fall. Somehow, in the interim, the killer had been caught. He'd been institutionalized. And I would have him escape one night, and now he's free in the community, and nobody knows it at first, and he starts stalking them again at the Black Christmas sorority house. And I was going to call it Halloween. So, now when you think of what John Carpenter did, wrote a script really quite different from that idea, just a basic core of it, like a sentence, cast it, directed it, edited it, did the music, what is it? Oh, maybe the title Halloween, he should have given me a little footnote, but I didn't own that either.
Now that's Bob Clark's take on it. Do you want to hear John Carpenter's take on this?
Yeah, and let me hear John Carpenter.
This is John Carpenter's take from, I think this was from an expo in Calgary. It's an audio clip, but there's also some video that goes along with it.
Okay.
Hi, John. It's really cool to see you here.
How you doing?
I'm good. My question is about Halloween. I read in a book called Shock Value by a writer named Jason Zinnemann that Halloween, basically the main plot kind of came from a conversation that you had with Bob Clark, where you asked him if he ever just had any ideas for a sequel to Black Christmas. And he said that if he were to make a sequel, it would basically, the plot would be Billy escaping from an asylum, and it would take place on Halloween. So is this true?
It's bullshit.
Okay. That's why I asked.
Bob Clark was a very nice guy. He and I traveled together. I was a producer at the time. He was going to direct a movie I'd written. He was a very nice man. But I saw Black Christmas, and Black Christmas is exactly what I did not want to do with Halloween. It was an entirely different direction. So no, that's not true at all.
Now,
I think I'm going with Bob Clark.
I'm going with Bob Clark. And, look, nobody's bigger Halloween fans than us.
Right.
We've covered it.
And we love John Carpenter.
Love John Carpenter. But John Carpenter is not, he's a very proud gentleman, I would say. He's not a shy gentleman. He doesn't hold back. He speaks his mind. But there's no way you can tell me, after watching this film and having seen Halloween as many times as I have, knowing that came 4 years later, knowing this information, which frankly Carpenter is corroborating in this, even though he's at the end sort of denying that, you cannot convince me.
The point of view shooting, the kills. I mean, I kept thinking of was Halloween.
And of course. And he says, exactly what I didn't want it to be was Black Christmas. Well, that's exactly what it was. Now, granted, Carpenter takes it a step further, right? With he moves further away from the POV. He gives you that, but he also then, of course, gives us
the
Michael Myers, the shape, and the slashing and all of that. So he takes it a few steps further
Dan,
and fleshes it out.
ironically, Rob Zombie is on record as calling this his favorite movie.
Black Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not surprising.
Yeah.
But so no love lost there, it seems like, with John Carpenter.
That's
But I
funny.
just
And I don't think John Carpenter liked what Rob Zombie did with the Halloween
I think
remake.
he gave it probably the same sort of compliment that we just heard from him here
a
about Bob Clark.
backhanded one, if any.
Correct. And I think that is who John Carpenter is,
Yeah.
and he's earned that. He's earned that right to be a braggadocious.
Yeah, and you look at all the different genre, Escape from New York and The Thing and all this different stuff he's done.
Oh, sure.
I don't know why he didn't just say, "Oh, yeah,
right.
This is clearly inspired by that."
I mean, they tell the same exact story.
Right.
But so here's another thing that I love about this is the whole idea of, and this was one of the reasons Bob Clark wanted to do it, was this contrast between one of supposedly the most joyous times of year and setting it against this kind of horror, plot.
Right.
I think that's really fascinating. In fact, it's one of the reasons that I snuck in the theater back in the early 80s to see Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's also why I was there last year on Christmas Eve watching Terrifier 3 in the theater.
Oh my God. You can sit through Terrifier 3. This is nothing.
I've been with Del Griffith. I can handle anything. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of which, there's some weird connections here too. Let's talk about Olivia Hussey. You must know this. I thought you'd be fascinated by this, but there's a planes, trains, distant connection.
Yeah, she was going to
be
cast
potentially for Roxanne.
Oh, Roxanne. That's right.
Which is on Mike's top 5 film list.
Yep.
But she was going to be and she encountered Steve Martin somewhere, and he said to her, "Oh, I love your," and she's thinking he's gushing about Romeo and Juliet or some of the other things she had already been famous for.
Right.
And he said, no, Black Christmas. I've seen it like 26 times. Steve Martin, big fan of Black Christmas.
And as I've said, he's a Renaissance man. This is a very well-read, intelligent guy.
Very well. Yes. Very well read, very intellectual. And I didn't realize it until looking it up, of course, but Olivia passed away just last year, just ironically a couple of days after Christmas.
Yeah, they used to have a Black Christmas, kind of like they do with the Lebowski Fest.
Yeah.
And she never went, but, Bob called her one time and said, "Hey, come on, would you," and she went because he asked.
She did, she was in Psycho 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was in Psycho 4. And, there's others like Margot Kidder that's in this. I had showed a shot of her earlier on the phone. She was in Amityville Horror, of course. So there's a few of these actors.
The biggest surprise to me was Andrea Martin.
Oh yeah, talk about Andrea Martin. Yeah,
yeah. We just talked.
There's another planes, trains, John Candy connection.
Correct. We just talked about John Candy and SCTV, and Andrea Martin was one of the founding members of SCTV.
Here she
along
is
with John Candy. Yeah, there she is
on the
left side, like frizzy hair, looking much different than she looks normally. Her hair's normally straight, but she was also in the remake. She's the only one. They gave them a choice of either her or Margot Kidder.
I see.
And those two got along, I guess, really well. But Margot Kidder was distant to everyone else.
Well, what Margot says in interviews is that she said she and Andrea didn't really understand at that young age what someone like Olivia Hussey, who had already come into fame, like maybe the pressure that was on her as a person in Hollywood of that ilk at that time. I think, and Olivia Hussey in the interview speaks about it in a similar way, that there was some distance there on set between them. But I think they just didn't maybe find a lot of things in common with each other is probably all it was.
Which, ironically, I think Margot Kidder won an award for this film where Olivia didn't, but they were both labeled screen queens. Yeah. Before that was like you know, if you say that, who do you think of?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Lee Curtis.
So I was going to put it out to you. Another controversial statement to make. Is Olivia Hussey the GOAT? Was she the original Scream Queen?
I think they're so different in their performance that she doesn't. I mean, she does scream here and there, but not to the extent of Laurie Strode's character.
Yeah, and there's something with the way that Jamie Lee, the way that she portrayed such an innocence in that character in the first Halloween and then beyond, but then just turned into such a badass. Like her arc is pretty incredible throughout the whole franchise. So I think that's quite different.
Olivia Hussey, the interesting thing, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but she's pregnant during the time of the film. You know, not in real life. I mean, she's pregnant
in the film, the character
in the film,
right?
Which was, you know, kind of Laurie Strode obviously, you know, wasn't going to be pregnant in Halloween. Right. I do find it interesting that, you know, Andrea Martin came back and Margot didn't. And Margot, I think, went on to have probably the biggest career, although Andrea Martin's had a pretty nice career for herself.
Yeah. Margot would end up, of course, going on to the Superman franchise, and then as Lois Lane, and then obviously she would come back to horror years later with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
That's right, as the therapist, and that was after she had some issues, which you know, and you know, she drinks a lot of alcohol in this film, and they talked about how she talked to Bob Clark and said the alcohol has to be real.
Yeah.
So you know, she's pretty tipsy in some of these scenes. I'm wondering.
Apparently so.
You know.
Yeah, apparently so. I want to play another clip. This is one of my favorite scenes in the film, and there's some fantastic. I hope when you watch it the second time, you marveled even more at what Bob Clark did with the camera on this film. It's really remarkable. But this is one of his gems in the film. It's this pretty well-known scene, I think, of this juxtaposition between one of the death scenes and this children's choir. You know, they're carolers that are going along, and
they're singing out in front of the sorority house.
We could sit here and do a whole episode breaking down this sequence, but just visually, this is pretty stunning. So Olivia Hussey's character, Margot Kidder's character, just was suffering from like an asthma attack or whatever, and so she goes up to comfort her, and then as she's walking back downstairs, these kids are outside caroling.
Right.
And the imagery that we see here that Bob Clark captures from, you know, the cinematography, you know, the set design, everything going on here is just so nice. The framing. This is one of my favorites right here when she opens the door and the way she ends up almost backlit by this wreath that's on the door.
Yeah. And again, something horrific is going on.
Yes. And
behind that door.
It starts to cut back and forth ultimately.
Yes.
If you see like these shots here when he starts going, what do you think of, Mike? This is Halloween.
That's what I was just going to say. That's Halloween.
Yeah. Jamie Lee's going to come running down the hallway here any minute. But anyways, there's some brilliant camera work there by Bob Clark. Modest budget, although this 1973 when they're filming it, you know, 600 something thousand bucks back then. Still tight though.
Made $4 million.
Not too shabby.
No.
Back then.
But you got to think this is 50 years ago.
Yeah. Shot it in 40 days.
Money.
Shot it in about 40 days. We talked about Mike. Bob Clark also won one of the industry's most coveted awards, the Razzie Award. Do you know what film he won that for? You're going to love this.
No.
Rhinestone.
Oh man. And I am totally on board with that.
I know. As
that
most people
horrible.
Are. Listen, I think
Stallone's worse. No.
I think Sly admits it.
The arm wrestling one is even worse.
Oh, over the top.
Over the top.
Over the top. Don't mess with me. He's my boy. You know that.
I know.
Speaking of which, I went into my autograph, my celebrity archives.
Yeah.
And I pulled out, you remember when we met Tommy Morrison from when he was in Rocky Five?
Yes. We went to the premiere of Rocky Five.
Yeah, I think I did. I don't know about you, but I think I was under some illusion that Stallone was going to be at this premiere.
I was too. Yeah.
Were you? And
they sold it that way.
Yeah, we ended up meeting Tommy out on the sidewalk. There's a table set up, and he was super nice guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. But here's another weird celebrity connection that you'll get a kick out of. But as I was rummaging through the files, I found something I knew I had, but I just haven't seen it in years. Didn't know where it was. But a connection to this review is I mentioned earlier this, maybe the second film Bob Clark had done called Death Dream, which, like he said, was a tip of the hat to A Night of the Living Dead. John Marley starred in that film. And if you don't recognize the name, you might recognize him from one of the most famous scenes in cinema history when he woke up in bed beside a horse's head in The Godfather.
Wow.
And so
isn't his name, what's his name?
John Marley is the actor.
Okay, I thought it was Vincent.
Yeah. So
why?
So what I found in the O Brothers Celebrity Archives was, funnily enough, this coaster. It's a coaster, and it says, "To Mike, Mo Green, The Godfather, 1971, Alex Rocco."
You know what's absolutely wild, Dan?
Yeah.
2 nights ago, I watched a Criterion disc, The American Friend,
starring Alex Rocco.
Alex Rocco in that film.
This is what happens.
That's weird.
This is what happens on the
That's
Weather
weird.
podcast. Yeah. So, anyway,
a couple other things I just want to say. There was a lieutenant in this, John Saxton, who is famous for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, wait, I have a photo of John. So look, boom, right there, John Saxton.
He was a replacement. The original actor was going to be Edmund O'Brien, who's a big noir. People who are film noir nuts know who he is.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was an interesting. He came in at the last minute and did,
Yeah, well, yeah, and unfortunately, because of O'Brien's health, he had to pull out.
Yes,
wasn't able to do it. But John Saxon was great. He's a great character actor, long resume. You've seen him in a lot of different things. Was great in this as well. This is another very, very quick just image that I wanted to show from another one of my favorite shots. It's just, I think it's the contrast of what's taken place here. But this is the very end of a pretty intense sequence that we see, and I won't give anything away, and this doesn't, but this was one of the most striking images. It's these crystal figurines that are on this, like a nightstand or something, and you see this woman's hand just kind of falling over, and it's covered in blood. Obviously something gruesome has just taken place, but there was something in the filming of that. The way Bob Clark did that just was so sweet. Love that.
There's a lot of great shots, and there's multiple twists at the end, but one of the twists, which I'm not going to point out, has been ripped off so many times. There's films that are basically ripping off the end of Black Christmas and making a whole movie around it.
You can't, and you're not going there. How are you going?
I don't want to say what it is.
You're going to leave us in suspense like he did here. I want
people to discover it the way I did, which was kind of delightful in a dark way.
Now, what can you say about Keir Delay, Mike? Anything?
Yeah, no, I'm confused as to who that is.
So Keir Delay plays a character named Peter who is trying to marry Olivia Hussey's character.
Yes.
And she's not, she's looking to spread.
She's not having it.
She's not looking to be tied down. And he's like, well, you're pregnant, and there's this whole thing going on. But he, people would know him from a little film by Stanley Kubrick called 2001.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Dave. God. I can't do that, Dave.
It just now
Dave
hit me. I was looking at him the whole film.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal. Here he is here, Mike. Let me show us a quick shot from 2001. There's Peter. There's Peter or Dr. Dave from 2001. Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
wild.
So what's your like overall assessment of the film after now seeing it twice?
Yeah, I think it took me 2 times. I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid, you know, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the film.
Mhm.
Does it hold up? Sort of, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
like, some of the things are
I
still
think
being
so.
stolen today.
Mhm.
So, I give it credit for that. Is it one that I'd pull out every Christmas? I doubt it, but I'm
Well,
glad I watched it. I appreciate how it was shot, the juxtaposition of things.
you might pull it out during Halloween Fest. I don't know if you pull it out every
Yeah,
Christmas,
right.
but people
Yeah.
do. Like you said, people celebrate it. IMDb rating, Metascore, Mike, 65. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 71% by the critics, 76% from the audience. I'm closer there. I might even give it an 80% only because of what Bob Clark does here stylistically. I think is so
Yeah.
nice.
I'm in
It's
the
so well done.
70s somewhere, but,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
As was the
th
film,
this is
1974.
I think after my first watch, I was
Yeah.
pretty negative because I was confused, and I thought,
Mhm.
"Wait, did he do it, or he do it, or she do it, or"
Mhm.
but, I either I got distracted at the beginning or something.
Well, I think that's also part of the point, right? Is to this kind of misdirection. In fact, there's a red herring kind of scenario
Absolutely.
in the film as
Absolutely.
well, and it plays pretty well because that I
Right.
will say now that I say that out loud, yeah, I've probably felt a little bit the same, but that's what was going on. It taking you down this other path, and you take your eye off the ball there for a minute.
And, you taught the brilliance of the ending
Hmm.
shot as the credits are rolling, you see a cop in front of the sorority house,
Yes.
and I think unless you have the subtitles on, which you and I watch with subtitles,
Hmm.
you might not pick up on, but it ends with the phone ringing,
Yes.
which is a total giveaway.
Yes. It's great though, but it's set up for it. Kind of set things up nicely for a sequel, quite
It did.
frankly.
It did, and like you said, a tragedy struck. Him and his
Hmm.
son were killed. He
Yeah.
was gonna do the sequel, and I think Olivia Hussey was on board.
I think so, yeah, and they all speak very highly of their experience working on the film. All of the cast do,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that is attributed to Bob Clark and who he was. He seemed to be very well respected. He was quite a funny man, obviously very talented. He had, I think he was kind of grew up in New Orleans or somewhere, but then he ended up moving down to Florida, like Fort Lauderdale area.
And this
Interesting. He was working on a Porky's remake, Mike, with Howard Stern
Wow.
around the time that he ended up,
Didn't they have, like,
getting
5 of those?
killed. There was at least 3, but he didn't come back for the third one was Porky's Revenge. I know more about Porky's than I should, but, yeah, Porky's was one of those films. I mean, 1981, I'm a young lad. I had no business
Right,
seeing Porky's, but our dad was, he had HBO and all the
right.
Skinamax and all this stuff. And my room was like in eyes view of, it
Yeah.
was back then it was easy to get a hold of this kind of content.
And that was, like, never be that led to, like, American Pie and,
Yes.
movies of that ilk.
Well, there you go, right? The guy, look, regardless of what Mr. Carpenter says, on the
Right.
old brother, we believe that Halloween is absolutely straight influence
Derivative. No
derivative
question in my
from,
mind.
yeah, absolutely. And as you say, a film like Porky's goes on to influence all these other kind of raunchy teen comedies
Yep,
without question.
yep.
So it's quite a legacy. I mean, what he might have continued to do, if he hadn't have been tragically killed. I mean, who
How
knows?
old
But
was he when he died, does it say?
yeah, he was. Let's see, he was 67. He was
Yeah,
really young. Jeez
yeah.
Louise.
He had
Yeah.
plenty of time.
So, but listen, forever will Bob Clark be in my heart and the hearts of many around the world who watch A Christmas Story every year, this is the perfect time to watch it. But I would recommend, if you haven't seen Black Christmas and you're into this kind of thing at the holidays, this is a perfect film to put on because it also has it's shot in Toronto. It has the look, the vibe. It's
Mhm.
cold, it's wintry. They got Christmas lights, all that stuff.
Did you
It's
catch
cool.
that it's in Bedford? That's the
Yes.
name of the city, which is a a shout out to It's a Wonderful Life, Bedford Falls.
Another tip of the hat. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Which we haven't. We were actually going to do that this holiday.
That's right.
And we aborted that plan. But well, there you go, folks. Black Christmas by from Bob Clark, 1974. Like you said earlier, it's remade. It wasn't a sequel, or that was a sequel that they put out.
No, it's a remake. It's the same story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. This one's in the books. And Mike, so is Holiday Fest for this year. So we wish everybody a wonderful holiday season, a very happy new year. We will, of course, continue to be coming at you week after week with new episodes. Appreciate all of the engagement, Mike, we've been getting, not only with people that are listening, people that are reaching out on YouTube and engaging with us there, which a lot of folks are. This is where you filibuster. This is where you.
Oh, I was going to say, is it the comment that somebody wants to punch me in the face?
No. That's actually a coworker of mine that
Please don't want to punch me in the face.
We had some great engagement on the first look that we did for the Supergirl trailer. That was really some enjoyable back and forth there. But a lot of people subscribing to the channel. And Mike, how can people get subscribed to the YouTube channel for Oh Brother?
Well, there's this strange code that, only a tech person would know about.
Is it a QR code, perhaps?
Oh, yeah, that funny QR thing.
Is this QR code right above our heads?
Is take one of these funky devices that some people have, rich people.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is scan it, boom, Oh Brother.
Takes you right to the channel, hit subscribe. That's it. Easy peasy. All right. Thank you again, folks. Appreciate all the support that you've given us throughout this year. We hope that you'll continue to support us so that we can continue to do this into 2026. We'll be going into our 6th year, Mike. It's hard to believe. But here we are. All right. A very Merry Black Christmas to all the Oh Brother faithful out there. Mike, that's going to do it for another episode of the Oh Brother podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.